Hi everybody, it's Crazy, it's Friday, and it's time for my BGE video. Now before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trusted because you guys rock. To my Crazy fam, love you guys. And to my patrons, thank you for your support. Now, I do one video every week. This week is my BGE video. Next week will be my Oops. If you want to find out what Oops video is about, become a Patreon and you get to find that out. But if you're into learning a BGE or want to understand a BGE a little bit more like I'm trying to, uh, stick on with me. To get started, we're up to episode number 3, and for the beginning part of it, I'm going to talk a little bit about Blender and a BGE. Okay, I do a little bit of talk about this because a lot of people don't really understand it, or this is their first video that they're cluing in on and don't really know anything about it. UPBGE is based off of Blender, okay? And Blender is a great animation and 3D software that really has some awesome features that a lot of us love. They finally made it up to 3.0, and with that, the call of UPBGE decided that they were going to go ahead and up their game and bring out version 0.3. Yes, they have stepped up and finally released 0.3 for all those people who are tired of hearing it be in alpha mode. Not even in alpha mode. It's kind of like experimental. It is now official. So it is now the stable release of a BGE. Okay, and this is what I'm working from. I'm not working from 0.3. I'm actually using the older version. I'm using 0.2.0 for right now because it's based off the older version of Blender, which is what I'm kind of used to. I'm going to step up to 0.3 one day, but right now I'm sticking with the 2.7 version of Blender, which is also 0.2.x version of BGE. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go over to this book right here, which I left off with last week. I left off with 3D Basics. If you already know all about this, then, it's not really much I can show you except for what I'm reading from this book. Okay, so if you want to stick around and watch it, hey, that's fine with me. You may find out something you didn't realize about 3D. I found out a lot about 3D that I didn't realize before, but I was always playing with it, so I just assumed that I knew enough about it. There's always something you can learn. You can never stop learning. And there's no such thing as a dumb question to me. Okay, so if you've got questions and you don't really have an outlet to ask, drop on over to the BGE server. They'd be more than happy to help you out. Ask in the 2x version or the 3x version, depending on which one you want to go to. And they'll be more than happy to answer any question. If you have a question you would like to ask me, we've got the comments down below, or you can hop on over to my server, which is also in the description. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. So we're on to 3D Basics, where I left off last time. Okay, that was 2 weeks ago. Hey, which was my Christmas video. Go check it out. Probably pop up right there, maybe. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, so if you haven't used any 3D application before, the terms modeling, animation, and rendering might be foreign to you. So before you go off to create the spectacular game that you always wanted to make, let's have a quick refresher on the basics of computer graphics. You don't have to endure the boring section below if you already know what RGB stands for and the difference between Cartesian and Gaussian. The knowledge in this section is universal and applies to all other 3D applications. So even if you are coming from a different application, the same concepts drive all of them. Okay, so in other words, if you're coming from Unity or Unreal or any other game engine or any other modeling software, they're technically about the same when it comes to this type of jargon. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the coordinate system. Okay, we live in a three-dimensional world that has width, height, and depth. So, to represent anything that resembles real life as a virtual world inside a computer, we need to think and work in three dimensions. The most common system used is the Cartesian coordinate system, where the 3 dimensions are represented by x, y, and z. Okay, that's x, y, and z. Okay, laid out as intersecting planes where the three axes meet is called the origin, which is where these three meet. That's the origin, the very pinpoint of the very big, spot. Okay, you can think of the origin as the center of your digital universe. Makes sense. Okay, a single position in space is represented by a set of numbers that corresponds to its position from the origin. Okay, thus 2, -4, and 8 is a point in space that is 2 units from the origin along the x-axis, 4 units from the origin along the negative y-axis, and 8 units up from the z direction. Now, before I get started, let's say, when you see a negative y-axis, you're basically looking at a negative number. So basically, that would be a -4. -4 would be you're going on the y-axis in a negative direction. So y-axis in a negative direction, you're going this way. Okay? Just wanted to put that out there because some people actually don't know that. Okay? They just assume that negative number is just going, negatively. It's not. It's actually going in reverse. Okay. All right. So points, edges, triangles, and meshes. Although we can define a position in space using the x, y, z coordinates, a single point or a vertex, single point, as it's more commonly known in computer graphics, is not terribly useful. After all, you can't see a dot that is infinitesimally small, but you can join this vertex to another vertex to form a line, also known as an edge. Okay? Vertex, edge. If I could quit doing that. There you go. An edge. An edge by itself still won't be very visible. So you create another vertex to join all three vertices together with lines and fill in the middle. Suddenly, something far more interesting is created. A triangle, also known as a face, which is a face. Okay, it says triangle, but this is a square. But it's actually, when we read on, you'll see why that is actually considered two triangles. Okay, by linking multiple faces together, you can create any shape, the result of which is called a mesh. Okay, so this is a mesh. This is a mesh. You can create any shape to create a mesh, is what it is, or a model. Your model of a little teapot here. Okay, the figure below shows how a mesh can be broken down into faces, edges, and ultimately into vertices. So here goes your teapot, which is basically technically a bunch of faces put together. Okay, broken down into a single face, which is a bunch of lines put together, or edges, and then you've got your lines or edges. Okay, so two vertices make up an edge. So you got vertices. So you break it down, you got that one little vertice. Okay? All right, why is a triangle so important? Okay, there is a big time debate on this. Okay, why is a triangle more important than a quad? Okay, you'll find out what a quad is here in just a minute. But to all those people who rather use a triangle, to all those people who rather use a quad, hey, I feel you. Okay, I got you. I understand. Okay, turns out modern computer graphics use a triangle as a basic building block for almost any shape. A rectangular plane, also known as a quadrangle, or more commonly a quad square, okay, is simply two triangles arranged side by side. A cube is simply 6 squares put together. Even a sphere is just made of tiny facets arranged in a ball shape. Okay, so if you get a ball, okay, the sphere shape, you can actually put enough triangles in that to make it look like a sphere, but be all triangles. Okay, in Blender, a mesh can be made from a combination of triangles, quads, or n-gons. The benefit of n-gons is their ability to retain a clean topology while modeling. Without n-gons, certain areas of a model, such as a window or a wall, would require a higher number of triangles or quads to approximate, as shown below. Okay, so that's right here. Okay, while n-gons make modeling easier in some cases, Blender still converts them to triangles when you start the game. So this right here is an n-gon. Okay, and then it's gonna, it's gonna turn it into this. Okay, where it goes into triangles instead of squares. Okay, instead of 4 points, it's automatically going to kick it over to triangles. So that's why most people use triangles instead of quads. Okay. The process of creating a mesh by rearranging vertices, edges, and faces is called modeling. Blender has many tools that help artists define the geometry they want. It is worth noticing that unlike the real world, polygon models do not have volumes. They are just a shell made of interconnected faces that take the shape of the object, but the inside of the object is always hollow. So it's not a solid mass. It's actually just faces put in and it's empty in the middle. Okay. Another concept that a modeler will likely encounter is surface normals, or normals for short. Normal is a property of each face that indicates the direction a polygon is facing. Okay, you see these little things right here? You can actually find that in the 2.7 version or the UPBGE 2.x version in your end menu. If you hit N on your keyboard, it will bring out the end menu, and you can scroll down and you'll be able to find it and be able to do it, but you have to be in edit mode, so remember that. You have to be in edit mode. Okay, let's see, where was I at? Ooh. In case the direction it's facing, okay? So because normals are used for shading computation of a surface, ideally all normals for a mesh should be pointed outward. Wrongly orientated normals can cause the mesh to show up as black or invisible. Fortunately, there is a make normals constant function in Blender that can usually resolve the issue. Okay, so this right here shows you the direction of normals. Okay, most of the time you look at it from a face point of view because it's easier to see it because you want to see it from the face, but you can also look at it through edge and vertices. But edges, it's really hard to tell, and vertices, it points out in an odd direction, so you think that it's the face, but it's not. It's actually it's just where it's at. Okay. All right. So beyond polygons, technically there are other approaches to computer graphics that do not rely on triangles or polygons, such as NURBS, non-uniform rotational B-spline, and voxel, short for volumetric pixel. But polygon modeling and rendering is by far the most common and is the only supported method in the game engine. Okay, so basic transforms. The three basic transforms that you should be familiar with are translation, the moving of an object in any direction without rotating it; scaling, the resizing of an object around a point; rotation, the rotating of an object around a point. These three are the most common manipulations you can encounter. They are illustrated below. Okay, so you get translation, scaling, and rotation right here. Okay. Materials and textures. Let me see where I'm at on time. Yeah, we're going on 13 minutes. So guess what? I'm going to leave this here. We're going to stop at materials. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and call it as that. And we'll call it a day on that because I don't want to get too far past 10 minutes because if you get too far into it, you know, who wants to sit around for 30 minutes? I mean, unless it's really engripping, you know, I mean, all I'm doing is going over a book, so I want to get it out there so that way people can really look at this book. And I do have it in the description. I got their GitHub. Go to their GitHub. You can actually read it there, or you can download it and create it into a PDF like I did. And, you know, read it at your leisure. Put it on a Kindle or anything like that, and you can actually read it whenever you want. But they do have it there, so you can actually read it and, you know, learn more about it. I wish that they would do a little bit of updating with it and come up with a newer version for the 0.3 version of BGE, which uses the new Blender style. Don't know if that's going to happen, but I hope it does. So if you guys are listening, you know, you guys happen to click on this and find, you know, hey, I'm talking about your book. Hey, time to update it, dude. Come on, somebody update it. But that's all I got so far. So until next week, which will be my oops video. If you don't know what that is, become a patron. But if you do know what it is and you happen to be one of those people that can see it, you'll get to see me next week. And until then, it'll be another week after that. So in 2 weeks, you'll see this a BGE video again, which will be number 4. So we'll see you then.